good day, everybody. Welcome to the Lifetime Training Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stella, and I have got the amazing Miss Carrie Bacon with us today. And she has just an amazing story of success, of overcoming a lot of life things. And I just, her story is just so powerful, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. And hopefully it's an inspiration also. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be able to share my story. Anytime I can do that, it gives me a lot of joy. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Well, let's just jump in and,
Sure.
give us from, how you got involved in all this stuff and take us from there.
Absolutely. Fitness has always been ingrained in me. So at the age of 12, I started playing basketball. And of course, I started lifting because I wanted to be so great and strong at basketball. And so from there, I really fell in love with lifting. Basketball took me to a lot of different places in my life. I played professionally over in Europe for a really long time. And now I just love to be able to really teach people, right, the benefits of strength training.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you play. I played in small college as well. I didn't make it pro, but I played small college as well. That's awesome. And so tell us a little bit about that. And then, how did you then transition from that into, your fitness career?
From the age of 12, I picked up a ball and was in love with it, with basketball. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I didn't have athletic parents. I didn't have a lot of friends that was involved. So as soon as I got into it, I knew that was a passion in me, God-given, that I wanted to do something really great with it. So along with the basketball, I started lifting. I fell in love with that. I wasn't always the most talented, the strongest, the fastest, right? But once I started strength training, it took me to a whole new level. And so I went to the University of Wyoming. I played there. Luckily, I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is really cool.
Congrats.
Yeah, and then I just played all over Europe. It was a blast. It was amazing.
Imagine.
Yeah, I played for about 6 years. Yep.
That's fantastic. So then, you finish school and then you start the work life, and where did that take you?
Right. So, I played for a long time. I saw lots of different countries, and I really think that was a blessing because I don't think a lot of Americans get outside of the country to see how other people live. But I retired after about 6 seasons. I had some back injuries, which I had kind of been plagued with my entire life. And it was time for me to hang the shoes up and do something different. And I've always loved fitness, right? It's been such a huge part of my life that was such an easy transition to say, okay, I want to help other people do this as well.
Got it. So then was your first opportunity in fitness with Lifetime, or?
Actually, no. So As soon as I retired, I came back to Colorado Springs and I said, okay, what next? So I actually started with 24-hour fitness.
Got it.
And I didn't know how the fitness industry should be or how it was until I got with Lifetime. And that was a complete, it changed the game for me, right?
Yeah.
But I started at 24-hour fitness. It was kind of the hard knock life. Get in there, work the floor. There's no true help, no support. It's sink or swim. Yeah. And so that's what I was faced with. Yep.
Yeah. And, and there's a lot of good that came obviously out of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it teaches you how to hustle and, it's just different. I was with Lifetime, as you know, for 14 years before I left and was at a short stint with 24. And, great organization with regards to the fitness side, but, truly as a strength and conditioning coach or trainer, whatever you want to call yourself, the thing that I always loved about Lifetime is the infrastructure that was built that I don't think many organizations out there have, to be able to move up and not get forced into a club manager position, to be able to have assistant managers, to have group training coordinators, to have Pilates Pilates coordinators, nutritional programming, and then have that even on a regional and then even at a national level. The infrastructure, organizational structure allows Lifetime employees to really go in many different ways. And I think there's a lot more opportunities. Obviously we're going through some COVID stuff that slowing that down a little bit.
The game a little bit, yeah.
But at the end of the day, as we all know, as things start to hopefully open up and get better, we'll get back to that. So now you come in as a trainer, I'm assuming,
right?
with Lifetime. Were you same thing at 24? Were you a trainer or?
Well, at 24, you got to survive, right? So I didn't even really realize what the career opportunities were outside of just being a personal trainer, right? Maybe a fitness manager. That was about it. When I came to Lifetime, I was actually hired on as an assistant department head.
Got it.
So as soon as I got into that role, I mean, the opportunities really showed me like how many doors are open with Lifetime. I mean, you can go this way, that way, you can go up, you can move laterally. So there's so much opportunity. And as soon as I got my feet in the building, I was excited to be here and I just ran with it, honestly. And I just wanted to be the best first assistant. I realized the financials, right? The money's much better here than any other place you're going to work as a personal trainer. And then I got to do a lot of really cool things and accomplish some cool things with Lifetime. So I'm truly blessed to be here.
Well, this is all about bragging, Carrie. So let's brag. So let's talk about that journey. Sure. and the steps that you took from, assistant manager then into, how successful you're doing now.
Right. So as soon as I transferred, I left from Lifetime or 24 and I came over, we were still selling memberships out of the trailer. We weren't even quite open yet.
Got it.
I attached myself. There was a guy here named Alex Gruen, who's now a general manager, right? But he was amazing. And so as soon as I got working with Lifetime, I took him on. I made him be my mentor, right? And I shadowed him. I was in his pocket. I watched all his consults. Learned, took from him what I thought I really liked, and then was able to build that with my own style. And from there, I mean, I hit the ground running. And in 2013, I was the #1 salesperson in the company, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it was a blast. I mean, he put that challenge out to me and he was like, hey, just so you know, this is kind of where you're at. We're at the 6-month mark. And I was like, okay, I'm in, I'm going after it.
And to clarify, you were selling training, not memberships. You were selling training.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. As a trainer, SNSing and building my own business and helping everybody else build their business. So yeah, it was awesome.
And you use acronyms and people that are watching obviously within Lifetime understand that, but those that aren't, SNS is something that is sales, not serviced. So
right. Sold, not serviced.
Yeah. Sold. And one of the biggest things with Lifetime that the percentages that they give out, anywhere from, what is it now, about 15 up to 23%.
Yeah.
When you sell a package is a monstrous number. And, I grew up in the Chicago area with Lifetime, and there was a girl named Revy Brill. I don't know if she was still here when you were there, but she was doing 25, 30 grand a month, just selling. And then I know that's not for everybody. And we're not saying everybody has to do that, but the opportunity to do that, to make the money, to help other trainers become and get clients is just so powerful.
And that speaks really to that infrastructure you were talking about. At 24-Hour Fitness, you're standing alone on an island, right? And you're going to sink or swim. You better build your own business and figure it out. As soon as I came here, I realized that I'm not going to be tapped out by the amount of service I can do, right? I can only service so many hours in a day. Plus, I have to help other trainers and develop them and their businesses. So what a great opportunity to be able to sell the training, because that's a strength of mine. Give it to a trainer who now they have people in their schedule. They're making the money from servicing, and then being able to hold on to that sales revenue for a few months for my own paycheck. Right. Yep. So what a great idea. Right. I don't know why every other gym's not doing something like that, but Lifetime smart. And that's how we do it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then obviously they retain that business. And then we have, the infrastructure of having a training development manager that then takes kind of over to help them build their skill, to help build retention is just, it's a great system when done properly. And let's say we're not, nobody's perfect. Just like, there's some great managers at 24, I'm sure that do the right thing. And everybody's got their faults, but obviously you've been in a club. Have you been only at the Colorado Springs Club?
I have. I'm from here, right? And so when I retired from playing ball, I came back home, and luckily we opened one here. It's the only one we have in the city, and I've been here now for 9 years. I remember when I got hired, and I was like, man, what is it? Where am I going to be at in 5 years? 6 years. But I've done, assistant department head. I went to department head. I went back to assistant. And unfortunately right now, because of COVID and we furloughed, and when we came back, the management system has changed. So right now I'm a trainer, which is new for me.
Got it.
I've
Yeah.
never been just a trainer with Lifetime. And so that has its own benefits and things too. So
Yeah.
I'm adapting for sure.
Well, and that's what it's about, and, I know that you've had to adapt a lot, recently, and I get teary-eyed even thinking about it, but would you mind, talking about that story?
Absolutely. August, around June or July of last year, 2019, I noticed I had a lump, right? A lump in my breast. And so I said, previous times this had happened before, I had them removed. They were benign, fibroids, no problem. So I thought for sure, this is exactly what it is. I had it removed. And I remember on August 1st, right? Because I'm never going to forget it. The surgeon calls me and she says, Carrie, you have cancer. And I remember being in this office and looking through the door, and she's talking, and I don't remember a word she said after "you have cancer." And so she was talking, and I remember saying, okay, well, I'll see you in the follow-up next week, right? Like it didn't really, I didn't understand what she was saying. And she was like, no, you need to see me right now. And so once that happened, I mean, I was in the cancer wheel, right? I had the port placed a week later. 3 weeks later, I had my first chemo, which took 10 hours to administer. I mean, it was the minute it goes in your body, you're instantly poisoned. I mean, I cannot even explain what that feeling is. And then I had 6 rounds. So every time you do it, it like adds up in your body. So talk about like what a feeling to be forced to do something. Really, you have to do something that you absolutely do not want to do, right? Yeah. So by that last chemo, I'm bald. I've lost 15 pounds. I'm still trying to work out every day.
You were lifting. I remember seeing the videos.
Yeah.
It was crazy. You were still in the gym.
You got to try to find that normalcy, right? Mm-hmm. You've lost everything. I'm out of control in terms of I can work when I can. I'm sick. I can't control that. I can barely eat. But the one thing I can do is work out, and it helped me feel a little bit more like myself, right? So I remember my last chemo treatment. I came in, I was working out. My twin sister, she lives over in Europe. She was amazing. She flew in like 4 times, right, during this whole thing. And I was lifting, and it literally, I think, was just the bar or 5 pounds. And it was insurmountable to me. Literally, I could not understand, like, it was such a feeling to not be able to lift this weight because I had nothing in me. And I just had to sit down and cry. It was just so overwhelming. But you get over it. Right? That there's that saying, this too shall pass, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got through it, and I'm doing great now. I had the surgery, in January. I had a double mastectomy, chose not to get implants, right, to reconstruct. There's a whole slew of illness that can happen with that. And so that was to wake up and have your body that changed was also a big moment. So.
Wow. Well, it's just so powerful. And I think, I don't even have words for it.
Right.
The mindset that you have and that you had. And I think we just can't, because that's where most people go. And then even, in smaller things that people explode in their minds, but your mindset, where do you attribute that? How did you get after it and still, muster the energy? Because I think there's a lot, it's so prevalent. There's so many people out there, and they just let it happen to them versus making, making the decision. And, can you share any of that?
A lot of factors, I think, my sister and I and my mom's a single parent. We grew up pretty poor, honestly. She hustled. She had 2 or 3 jobs, sometimes slept 2 or 3 hours a night to make sure, we had food on the table. So there's a very great role model right out the gates, right? In basketball, I knew that if I didn't get a scholarship, I probably wouldn't go to college, right? So I had to work and earn that scholarship. Through life, I've had 14 surgeries in my life. Whoa. Through, injuries and things like that. So every time I had to fight and come back. And when I got this cancer diagnosis, there wasn't 1 second that I thought I wouldn't make it, and it was a pretty high, aggressive cancer. It was spreading really quickly in terms of growth. but I knew that if I was going to win this, I had to have, this was the biggest challenge of them all.
Oh, of course.
And I had to be ready. So don't get me wrong though. There were some down times, there were times that I was mad. There were times where I wanted to quit. So my saying out of this is to just show up. I tell people just show up, because as human beings, we're capable of so many things, but we're hardly ever challenged. We're not challenged to the point to really understand what we're capable of. And now that I've gone through this, everything else is really put into perspective for me.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. So it's truly a blessing, honestly. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't want to do it again. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like I'm in a really good place now. So.
Well, that's fantastic. I always say that our industry is always evolving, and, what we look like is important to a lot of people, but I think the bigger expansion in the industry is what I call well-being. And that's to live a life of health and happiness. And that includes the mental side and the social side, as well as the physical side. And going through that, or going through any hardships and moving forward and be able to continue to move forward, those are like little notches that just build up, a resilience that is unstoppable and unbreakable.
Exactly.
And, it's just such a great, obviously not a great occurrence, but a great story. Right. So now you've been in remission for how long?
It's been a year.
It's been a year. Congratulations.
It's been a year. So on Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving was my last chemo treatment. So it's almost been a year, right?
Got it.
And I've got to wait. I've got to wait it out about 5 years to make sure there isn't a reoccurrence. I'm seeing doctors every 6 months, and just to really keep an eye on it. But I feel my mentality has shifted. I feel that I'm trying to live the healthiest life I can, right? Yeah. So I have really high hopes, and I feel pretty strongly about the fact that I'm going to be okay.
Awesome. You look great too. So that's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, obviously we've talked about a lot of stuff in there, and you threw Alex's name out, a couple of other people, but let's expand on that a little bit with regard to, work and lifetime. This is a trainer focused podcast, and people who might be wanting to get into it. And, you mentioned mentors and, saying, Alex, I'm going to make Alex my mentor. And a lot of people don't do those things, but, that's a great story. Anything else that you can share with the people out there that are, whether they're struggling in the, in where they're at, whether it's with us or maybe not with us, and, what you can do and what you think they should do, and lessons that you learn to speed that.
Absolutely. And this is a strong passion of mine. Pre-cancer, I always say the pre and post-cancer, like COVID, right? Pre-cancer, I was really hyper focused on just making a lot of money, and I wanted to help people, of course, but I was really driven by the financial aspects of things. Post-cancer, right? My mind has shifted, and I just want to help people, and I want them to understand that what they're capable of, and not to sell themselves short. If you have a dream and you want to make a certain amount of money, or you want to help a certain amount of people, or be the best trainer, do it, right? Set those goals. The time is now, but the most important thing is to set the goals, be organized, and be hyper focused on what you want. I see trainers come in all the time, and they've kind of lost track of their day, right? They don't really know what's on the books that day. They don't really know where their business is at in the month. They don't know what they need in terms of having the paycheck that they want. Let's break it down. Let's talk about exactly what you need, set those benchmarks, and go after it every single day, right? And then what I learned is have that work-life balance. When you go home, turn the mind off, be with your friends, be with your family. You have to have that inner peace and happiness. But I would say make sure that you set those goals and be focused, and then absolutely find a mentor. There's someone in your club that is exactly where you want to be. Attach yourself to them. Figure out what do they do, what are their habits, and start adapting, right? Yep. And make sure that you start putting that thing into place. And I think that everybody has the potential to make as much money as they want, or be as successful as they want at lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
well, and to add to that, I surveyed about 400 trainers. This is about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I surveyed 400 trainers, 200 trainers that were had been in the industry for 10 years.
Sure.
In that range. If it was less than 5, I didn't interview them. And they had to have had a balance of business. So I didn't just, if you were just an S&Ser or just selling,
sure.
I actually didn't interview that person. I wanted to know the person who had the balance, doing, averaged about 25 sessions or so a week or more.
Right.
And
okay.
they maintained that, and they had a good balance of dollars. And I just asked them a simple question: what do you attribute your success to? And then I gathered all this information and I compiled it. And anybody who I put it at 4, if 4 or more people said they did this thing, I pulled that out. If they said something that was kind of different, maybe unique skill to them, I pulled it. I threw that out.
Right.
And then I took the 200 trainers that had been struggling. They had been with us for a year and they were doing like less than 6 sessions a week, but they were still with us.
Okay.
So, I looked at them and I took all of those qualities, all of those things that the top were doing. And I asked the bottom 200 to say, hey, listen, do you do these things? And if you do, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And it came down to roughly 7 areas that the best were doing that the not so good weren't. And I got this from a book that's called Influencer, The Power to Change Anything. And I know John Berardi references this book, I believe, in some of the stuff that he's done with, he was big with the precision nutrition and talking about behaviors, the small little behaviors. And that's what this was. So, and it brought me back to that because you had said something, you got to have a goal. And I think bigger than a goal too is a vision. I mean, you had a vision in your mind that when you had cancer, that shit was not
exactly
right. Or I want to become the best, I was 6 months in and I want to become the best. So every one of the top people had a very strong vision, mission statement that was bigger than I want to help people. It was something that was there. So I think everything starts with that. And then, one of the other of the 7 was be organized, and you hit on that. And every one of them had a schedule, had it like, where am I going to work out? When am I going to eat? When am I going to sleep? Like, it was detailed out. And it's, now I call it the 5, I kind of stripped it into 5 fundamentals. And I think so often, from a schedule standpoint, every trainer wants to get busy until they do. And then if they're not organized, then they start double booking and triple booking, and they start losing, and they have success for a hot minute and it's gone. So, the ability to have a vision and a strong purpose, mission statement, creating that, being organized, understanding client acquisition and client retention strategies, making sure that when you continue your education, that it's, it could be the technical end, but at some point, if you're not where you need to be, it's got to be the business end. It's got to be the sales end.
Exactly.
It's those things that are just basic business training fundamentals.
Sure.
That if we just take those things, and it's really what you did, it's just like a good basketball coach, right?
Yeah.
They're going to teach you the fundamentals, and those that are the best are going to.
I would say that the biggest thing with trainers is everybody gets into the business to help people, but no one wants to talk numbers, and everyone says, I'm not a salesperson. Well, you got to be. How are you going to get people in your schedule if you're not selling yourself that they need you? And honestly, we're selling a product that deep down I'm passionate about, and I believe every single person needs, right? Yep. So what we have to do, and what my passion is, and my next vision, I think, to be with Lifetime, is to somehow be more in a position to teach people the art of sales, because it truly is art. If you're, I say, don't be weird. I tell my trainers, don't be weird, right? Because you've got to be able to read people. You have to go off their energy. You have to see their facial expressions. And do I ask for the sale? Do I take them out onto the floor? Do I give them another session because they need more time? And for me, I think that my way of helping people is to give that gift. They say the purpose of life is, 1, to find your gift and then give it to others. And I feel like I've been pretty successful with sales, and I just want to help trainers do that. And I think Lifetime is such an amazing platform that I hope maybe I can find my niche in it that way.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And you've got some great mentors out in that region, obviously.
Absolutely.
The best, if not the best region in the company. So, are there any other lessons that we haven't talked about that you've learned along the way that you can share that, are important to be successful and that you can help?
Yes. The biggest thing for me, again, the post-cancer, pre-cancer, is I didn't leave a lot of time for fun in my life. I mean, I honestly was a machine. I came in here. Sometimes I worked 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. highly successful, not really balanced, right? Post-cancer, now my motto is any day I'm not on chemo is a freaking amazing day, right? I've experienced what that feels like, and I'm truly blessed to get up every day and not have to feel that anymore. So I would just like to tell trainers, have fun with it. Remember why you got into the business. Remember that it's helping people. Yes, make your goals, stay focused, stay organized. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're doing, the odds of all the other stuff's going to happen, right? Pay attention, stay in the moment, find the little things that bring you pleasure in the day, and just enjoy your job. And then everything else will come into place. And don't get bogged down by the wheel of I have to work, pay my bills, do it again the next day, right? Enjoy life. We only have one.
Well, and it's funny, one of my favorite books, and I've been trying to get the author on the show, and we've been playing phone tag. His name's Nate Klemp. It's called Start Here, Mastering the Lifelong Art of Well-Being. And in this book, he talks about the happiness, and he believes that, in the psychological studies that they've done, is there's a happiness set point. Just like there's a weight set point, a lot of us will diet or we'll gain muscle, and then all of a sudden we go back, and in time we kind of come back to that point. And there's ways to break that. But using that example, the happiness set point is set through 4 things. One, understanding that we have a negativity bias in our minds, and we remember the negative more than the positive. Right. And then within that, there's a concept called resistance, and resistance is the mental bullshit that you tell yourself to justify your situation that's in front of you. And a lot of times it is just that. It's BS to make you feel comfortable.
To feel okay about what's going on.
And comfortable, right? And then there's judgment and attachment. So there's judgment where we judge ourselves, we judge our others, and then we stay attached to the past, which, look at what you've done. I've had some struggles in the past as well, where if you stay attached to what was, you're never going to become what you can be and will be. And so those 4 things really, amount to, a lot around how your mindset is and how you see the world. Right. But those are the things that create that happiness set point. So if we can work on those things mentally, and that's what you're saying is, what's in front of you, let's take the day by day, and, focus on what exactly you want. And you have to overcome those fears. I jump in the cold water, thankfully in Arizona now it was 40 some degrees, 50 degrees. And I do it every morning, and people look at me, why do you do that? Because I can overcome myself. It helps my mind overcome something that is small, but I do it each day, and then I meditate, and then I start my day. So, whatever that thing is, that's going to help you overcome and really bring you forward is. Yeah.
And everything can be taken. When we talk about that attachment, I did a lot of reading and had to really focus on my mind during this time because it can be so bad. But, I'm a trainer. I eat pretty healthy, and it's not genetic. There's no breast cancer in my, genetic pool, and I still got it. Yeah. And what that told me is nothing is forever. I mean, my health can be stripped away. Money can be stripped away. Your attachment to these things is fleeting, right? It's not going to be there. It's fake. And if we're relying on our happiness to come from these external, things, it's not going to be true happiness, and it's going to be gone before you know it. And so for me to be able, there were days, that I felt bad, but there were days that I could be happy going through chemo. And that showed me that your attachment to all these other things, you've got to be aware of it. You've got to get a handle on it, because all of it can be, taken away. Well, you control your happiness.
Yeah. And the same thing goes for success too, because we were talking about these awful situations, but at the same time, if you stay attached, the next thing you know, you get to a level and it's not good enough. And then you go to the next level, and then that rat race, talk about balance, and you lose your balance, and you lose friends and family, and your health goes on the wayside because money is the thing, using that as an example.
And it's never enough, right? No. One of my mindsets, it's ingrained in me to be the best, whether I was in basketball or I worked at Lifetime. I mean, that's just kind of what's in there. But what I want to change now is I want to be the best coworker I can be. I would like to be the best, support for my clients that I can be. The desire is still there, but the whole mindset has changed because those were things that I was chasing that was never going to give me the satisfaction that I needed, right? Yep. And honestly, I think that the level of my work like in terms of the machine and cranking out the hours contributed to my illness, you know, high stress, not even stress that anybody else put on me. I need to sell 30 grand a month. Who says, you know, it's craziness. But
you could check that box. So
yeah,
you
I
could
did
check
that.
box.
Yeah, I was good. I'm good with that. I just want to be happy every day. I want to be a light for my trainers. I want to be a light for my clients. I want to make them smile. Because that's all we have at the end of the day. And you can't attach yourself to the things that happen to you. I mean, I'm blessed that some days I forget that I had breast cancer. It was October, breast cancer awareness, and there's a commercial on, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad for them. And I'm like, wait, that happened to me. You know, that was me a year ago. But you just got to be in the day. Stuff's going to happen. Enjoy your life. And hopefully we learn that. I think that's the goal of life, is to become aware of these things, right? So
yeah, man, so powerful. You know, I guess to close out, you know, the last thing I'd love to talk about is,
sure,
you know, obviously with Lifetime, no company's perfect, no business is perfect.
right,
There's struggles,
right,
and you know, we have, you know, the one thing that frustrates me a bit is when sometimes say, oh, well, they take 40%. Or, you know, whatever the number is, and close to that, you know, a little
sure,
bit more in some cases. But you look at what people are making on the outside. Now there's a time
yeah,
thing, right? You know, so I'm not biased to say that, you know, I could potentially make more money in less hours if I'm on my own, but you can't look at it from what you're giving it away. And I don't know if you have
right,
anything to share. I mean, obviously there's never ending number of people that
sure,
you have access
absolutely,
to, right?
yep,
You know, you've
yep,
got benefits, obviously, you know,
yep,
from, you know, medical, dental, 401k, matching, you know, stock. When we were public, there were stock option
right,
pieces. All of that stuff is part of this. You're not having to go from house to house and spend money on
sure.
mileage and time on that. So yeah, anything that you can share, obviously that you love, because obviously you've stayed with Lifetime, and you
Yeah,
haven't left, and you've had
right.
opportunities when, you know, you obviously got
Sure.
knocked down a couple of times through their career, but anything you can share there.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, there's many trainers I've seen after a decade, hundreds of trainers come and go. And the funny thing is, a lot of them that leave, they come back, right?
Mhm.
So if you're coming to Lifetime from another gym, I tell you, you're going to see instantly night and day difference in the terms of how we operate. Yeah, they take a certain amount. I feel it's not that much different than what any other gym takes, but let's talk about the things that you're getting. You know, we're talking tens of thousands of members at one place versus maybe a gym that gets very little traffic, right? And now we have systems in place to make sure that each one of these members gets with a trainer. That's huge. Now we're not just connecting personal training. Let's talk about all the different products we offer, from supplements to small group and, you know, Pilates and nutrition and metabolics, right?
Yep.
Let's talk benefits, right? There's no way I would have survived these chemo treatments if Lifetime didn't offer such an amazing benefit package, right?
Yep.
So yeah, you got to look at what you're given and what you're receiving. And in my opinion, the benefits of what Lifetime's going to bring outweighs anything that you're going to get from any other small time gym or even on your own.
Yeah.
So,
And we're not cheap, you know what I mean?
right.
So our clientele, albeit changing a little bit now with COVID, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's more of a family
Sure.
based, you know, professional based people. So
Right.
that's awesome. Well, you know, I can't thank you enough, and I wish you absolutely all the best.
Thank you so much.
I
Yeah.
have been watching from afar, you know,
Yeah, I love
as well.
it.
And I can't, again, thank you enough for spending time,
Sure.
sharing your story. It was pretty powerful. It made me eyeglass. I'm looking in the camera going, my eyes are
Yeah.
teary,
Yeah.
but
I
thank you for
appreciate that.
that.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me on and letting me kind of share my thoughts and my story. And hopefully anybody who's listening, maybe it helps ignite a little bit of fire in them, or it helps them see that we can, you know, get through anything. You just got to stay positive and stay focused. So,
Man, you're the best. So thank you so much, Carrie.
thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Keep up the great
Yep.
work.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.